Good evening, everyone. How is everybody doing? I told you that I'm going to be back more regularly as I used to, and I am back today. And I'm speaking to one of my good friends, Belinda, who's going to be joining us very soon. But I want to always, as always, I want to see where you guys are watching me from. If you are really interested in this topic, what this topic means to you. Have you got a protection cover? Have you got a life insurance cover? And why do you think having that is important? So please make sure that you are sharing the link with your loved ones, and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Also, let's see. Hello, Don. Hello, Eben. Hello, Kwabena. Don, you're watching me from Ghana because I can see your Ghana flag. One Africa from the US. Where in the US are you? Miss T is watching us from Virginia. Hi. Yes, keep it coming. Let me know where you're watching me from. It's good to see you guys this evening. Where are you at? Where you at? Where you at? Make sure that you like, you subscribe. Tracy's watching me from Virginia. Hi. I think if I was to move to America, I'll probably move to Virginia. Yeah. I like Virginia. Virginia or Atlanta? Atlanta. I like, but then Texas, Houston. Okay. Hi. Hey, James from the UK. Thank you so much for joining the show. So let me introduce you to a good friend of mine. Her name is Belinda McWilliams. On to tonight's show. Give her a round of applause. Hi, Belinda.
Hi, Denta. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on tonight's show. Before I actually used to do quite regularly, like conversations that matter to our community, things that we need to be thinking about for our next generation, things that we need to be doing. And so I'm really grateful for you coming on the show today. So the first thing that I would like, okay, I can see you now. The first thing that I would like is for you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do.
Okay. Well, as you've already said, my name, Linda. I'm a protection advisor, and basically what I do is I work with people to understand their financial situation, to also understand their health, their lifestyle, and of course, their financial goals for their family. And based on that information, I'm able to make recommendation in terms of protection covers that is best suited for them and their family.
Okay, so when you say protection cover, what's the difference between a life cover or insurance cover for your family? What's the difference that we should be looking out for?
Okay, so protection cover is, holistically all the range of covers. So it includes accidental and injury cover. It includes life insurance cover. It includes serious illness cover. It includes income protection cover. So all of that is the protection cover. Whereas when you look at life cover, it tends to be life insurance. So usually when people are talking about life insurance or life cover is specifically, taking a lump sum, locking away, so that should you pass away, you'll be able to, pass on to your benefactors. But protection cover is beyond life cover. It's so much more.
Okay. How do we, as a generation, know what the best cover is for us? Should you be getting a life insurance cover at a young age if you haven't got children? When is the right time to get a cover?
There isn't really a right time. I think it's really to do with your lifestyle. So depending on what your situation is. So for example, if you're single, you might not necessarily, if you're single, unattached, no children, you do need some kind of protection cover, but it might not necessarily be like life insurance cover, because you don't have any dependents that are financially, or you don't have any any dependents, any benefactors, or anyone dependent on you financially. So you might not necessarily need a life insurance cover. However, you may need a cover like accidents, because obviously accident is part of our everyday experiences. People, you could be crossing the road, you trip and you fall, hurt yourself, break a bone and things like that. Or things like income protection, for example. All our life, everything is just kind of circulated around our income. And sometimes when if you're diagnosed with a serious illness and you're not able to work for a period of time, some people, especially if you're someone that is self-employed, you may not be entitled to things like sick leave benefits and stuff like that. So in that situation, you need something like income protection. If you're someone that is married and you have family, then you could also consider life insurance cover, because obviously now you have people that are dependent on you financially. And also, you may want to consider serious illness and all that stuff. So there isn't really an age bracket, but the concept for this kind of insurance is the younger you take it, because it's usually based on your age and then your health. So the more healthier you are, the lower the premium is. So, and that's why it seems ideal to take it a bit earlier on in life, because you're health wise, you're healthy. Life hasn't hit you yet. You're not suffering certain illnesses that it comes with kind of old age. So when you take premiums, when you take covers around that time, you tend to have monthly premium that are lower, which is quite beneficial for you.
And how long should one take the cover for, ideally? So if you're you have children, 2 kids, you're in your 30s, how long should that cover period be for?
Again, it's really to do with the individual's lifestyle. So for example, if you're someone that have got younger children, so maybe if you're 30 and you were a child, you may want to take a life cover to, maybe to the age of your retirement, or to the age that you feel your child will be financially dependent on you till. So some people will feel like, by the time my child is 25 or 30, I want them out. They're not going to be financially dependent on me. So I may want to take a cover that is to that length of time. But then other people might decide, I want to take a cover and use this as some form of security, a legacy for my children. So, maybe I don't have a lump sum of savings stuck somewhere. And if I'm to pass away, I want this thing to be something that my children will be able to, use it as a startup in life. So there isn't an age thing, but it's just more to do with what your lifestyle is, and whether you have dependents, how old or how young the dependents are, how long these dependents are going to be dependent on you for. But I think that the key is to take it for as long as you possibly can afford. I think it's also to do with the affordability, because after people retire 67 or 70, because they are not working and therefore not earning, the possibility of being able to afford the premium might be lower. But if you find yourself in a situation, or if you know for sure that I'm able to pay this premium for however long, then you can take a cover to that long. So covers may last up to the age of 70, to the age of 90, or whole life, until the policyholder literally passes away.
Okay, fantastic. You know, I remember seeing a while back, because David Beckham has stopped playing football, but I remember seeing that he had insured his legs for like £3 million or
Yeah.
something like that. And I was thinking, why is he doing that? But now I think I understand. Now I
Yeah,
think
because
I
his whole life
understand.
depends on that, isn't it?
Yeah, because his life depends on his foot. So does that mean that you can actually insure different parts of your body?
Well, I think I even heard something about, people insuring their hair and, their backside. But hey, um, I
For
think, I'm
sports
sure that
people, I
might
think
be,
I
it's possible.
understand. Yeah,
Pardon?
sports. I said I understand why
Yeah,
sports people, yeah, would do.
yeah. And people within certain job sector, if you're a
Yeah,
musician, maybe you want to insure your voice because your whole life is literally dependent on your voice.
true.
Possibility. But I don't know too much about those kind of body parts and how
Right.
it fits into a whole, but I'm sure it'll probably be like a specialty kind of protection cover.
Okay. And then can you just insure? So maybe you don't want to do life insurance cover. You want to do like funeral cover. Is that also possible?
Yeah, that's also possible. So for example, sometimes people will take something like a level term cover to maybe the age of 70, and then they will take something like a whole life cover attached to it. So they may take a level term cover with a sum assured of, let's say, about £100,000, and take a whole of life with a sum assured of maybe £10,000. And then they'll say, maybe when I pass on, I want this £10,000 to be used to cover the cost of my funeral. And then the whole of life may be to my benefactors. So yes, you can take that, especially if you don't have dependents, or if you have dependents and you don't want them to fit the bill for your funeral, then of course you can do that.
Okay. So what happens? Maybe you started paying at the age of 30, you're now 70, you still haven't passed away, and the cover is coming to an end. Can you still get the money, or that's it?
I don't know why I'm laughing. I probably shouldn't be laughing about this because it's not great news. I've come across, I've spoken to a lot of people, and I've realized that there are a lot of people that actually think that once their cover comes to an end, because they have paid the premium for however length of time, they are entitled to that money. And I'm sorry, guys, it doesn't work like that. It's just
Really?
like, when you insure your car or you insure your phone. If you don't damage your phone, you don't make any claim. But at the end of that insurance, at the end of that insurance cover, you can't go to the network and say, I'm sorry, I need my money back because I didn't make a claim. And literally, these protection covers work exactly like that. It's a safety net, or it's security. As and when the need presents itself and you need to make use of it, then it's available. But if you don't make any use of it and then you come to the end of it,
Wow.
yeah.
Like when you're going for a life insurance cover, they ask you thousands of questions. Do you smoke? Da 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 da, etc. 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 So they ask these questions. Are you not supposed to get those illnesses at a certain time, or like what happens with that? Like when if for instance, if you get, I don't know, lung cancer or something, and you tick that box as a no, and now you've got it, what happens to your premium or your insurance that you're paying?
Okay, so you are covered from the moment you take that policy. So whatever your condition at that time was. So for example, if you took a policy at a young age where your health is literally perfect,
Yeah.
that is what activated or kicked in that policy. And so
Right.
if later on in life, if you were to be diagnosed with any kind of serious illness, cancer or whatever, it does not affect your policy, because the condition or the term of the policy is not, with how your lifestyle is changing. It's at the
Right.
point of taking it. But people tend to not provide accurate information.
Yeah.
or honest information at the time, especially if you're taking some of these policies through, compare websites, or maybe through your bank. They ask
Mm.
some of these questions, just tick, 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 because you just
Yeah.
want to be done with it. It's really important that you provide them with the right information, because this is your whole life is going to be dependent on this. Your family, your children's lives are going to be dependent on this. And you don't want to come to that stage where you really need this money, and then they're going to catch you out because you provided, some misinformation or wrong information, which is sometimes what happens to people. So, no, to your question, it doesn't affect, if your lifestyle changes, it doesn't affect the premium in any way, and it doesn't change the term of your policy at all.
So basically, you can't lie on the policy. You need to tell the truth.
No, 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 no. This you should not under you should not under any circumstance lie, because the truth always does come out with these things. Because, for example, if something happens to you and you need to make a claim, sometimes depending on what policy you have in place, they will have to get medical records from your GP. And so if you lied about something at the time of taking the policy, and now you want to make a claim, but your medical record shows that you've had this illness, back a couple of years ago, probably before you, then that is where, some people end up getting or losing out on the ability to make the claim, because it would show. So it doesn't matter what your condition is. It doesn't mean you cannot take a policy, but it doesn't also mean you should lie about it. If anything, let them know what it is. The worst that can happen is they will load your premium, which means they will increase. More likely, the cost of your premium will be higher than the cost of your condition, because it means it puts you at a risk. You are higher risk of making a claim, basically.
Okay. Wow. Because there is a lot of questions that they ask, whether you've got high blood pressure, you've got this, you've got that. What about if you don't know? Do you think that you need to get a health check before you actually do the insurance cover, so that you know what you have at that time?
Yes, it's definitely it's definitely a good idea, because also, so for example, if you put if you submit an application, there's something called underwriting. So that is like behind, at the back end, they're going to do all these checks. So you go through a whole list of tickings. So for example, they want to look at your family history. Did you have a mother that suffered from maybe diabetes or high blood pressure or anything like that? They just want to understand your family history. How likely are you to be diagnosed with certain conditions, because it's in your bloodline? So you may not know, or you may not have it, but you may know that maybe a mother, someone in your family, was diagnosed with breast cancer or anything like that. So ideally, it might be good to put it in there. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have cancer or anything like that, but it's in there, and then they assess it. But as long as at the time of signing the policy or applying for the policy, you have been honest about the state of your condition, your health, your finance, your lifestyle, you're good to go.
Yeah, because obviously, if something does happen to you, your family won't be able to claim, right?
No, and it's the worst thing, I believe, that can happen to anyone when you're diagnosed. Because the thing with this thing, because you take it, so someone would take a policy for maybe like 30 years, 35, 40 years. Maybe the person was in their 20s or 30. Let's say you're 30 and you take a policy for 30 years. By the time you get to that end, or you probably need it, you're probably in your late 50s or into your 60s. And by then, life has actually taken effect. You probably suffer. Your health might not necessarily be perfect. And so when you lie and you're not able to make the claim, sometimes it also means that you might not be able to even, apply for any other policy, because if at that point you're diagnosed with any kind of terminal illness, no insurance provider will want to sign you a policy. So you are at almost like a double loss. You can't claim, and then you can't even get anything in place. So it's really these things, it takes time, and I understand. But it's like, having taken your whole life savings and wanting to put in some kind of investment. You don't just rush and just go and put in anything that sounds good. You take your time to really research and look into this. And I would actually, advise people, take your time, make sure you understand everything about these things, because sometimes some of the terminologies, it doesn't make sense. Speak to someone that can help explain things to you, and make sure that as you're taking this, you're taking it with the notion that this is going to be security. So when it does happen that you need this security, it would be able to serve that purpose.
Yeah. But I also feel like, even when you get like car insurance and you want to claim, Charlie, the things that you have to go through to like get your claim, and they actually make it feel as if it's your fault at times. Like sometimes insurance companies make it very difficult, like for you. I know they don't want to give up that money. It's a lot of money, right?
Of
Because
course.
you're not actually paying the 400,000. You're paying less than that, right?
Yes.
But I feel as if they will really dig into everything to make sure that the claim is a right claim.
Very true. And that's also the reason why we all have a responsibility to make sure that after I've taken this policy and I've paid this length of time, I have provided all the right information. So when I need it, whether they choose to want to give it to me or not, at least I will not forfeit my rights to it because I have not provided the right information or anything. Just make sure that at your end, everything, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, so that of whatever it is at the end, you will be able to get that money to be able to use it for whatever your situation is or for your family.
So for those of people that have, lied on their insurance questionnaire, can they cancel it and do a new one?
That's what you have to do, really. That's what you have to do. If you've lied, you've lied. Actually, I would suggest that you speak to your insurance provider, because you can change. Sometimes you may be able to change the the information that you provided, and then probably maybe the worst that can happen might be that your premium might go up.
Will go up.
Because now that you're providing them with the right information, it can affect your premium.
Yeah.
But again, it really just depends on what the information is. And in some cases, you might not be able to update your information, which means that you may have to, literally cancel that premium and take a new one. But again, please, if you do have a policy in place and you want to, for whatever reason, cancel or change or whatever, make sure that you take one and it's active before you cancel any other one. Because if you canceled a policy that you've been paying for 20 years, and then maybe it takes you a week or a month to take another one, and in between that period, should anything happen to you, it doesn't matter that you've made payment or what. Once a policy is canceled or is expired, you're no longer covered. So make sure you take one first before you cancel whichever one you feel they need to cancel. But yeah, I would definitely advise you to probably speak to your provider first and see what options you have.
Okay. How do you know which one is the right policy? There's so many insurance companies, as you know, everybody's pitching to you. How do you make sure that you're getting the right policy for your family? What are the things that we need to look out for?
It's a lot of the time when people approach protection advisors, they kind of think,
Okay.
I know what I want. I want life insurance, and that's all I want. But like for myself, I will not be doing you justice if I just provided you whatever you tell me that you want without actually taking time to assess and understand what your situations are and what will be best fitted for you and your family's needs. And so, yeah, just, for whatever provider is out there, make sure you check whatever it is they are providing. But I would actually encourage you that speak to a protection advisor, at least someone that knows. Don't, if you're not knowledgeable about the field, or the products, the terminology and everything, don't just forge forward and go and take anything, because more likely you're going to take the wrong product. Speak to someone that know. It's like, when if you have a court case and you want to go and present yourself, good if you know how the court system works. But if you don't, it's probably ideal that you get yourself some kind of lawyer or solicitor, someone that is familiar with the culture, the lifestyle there, that will be able to provide you an honest advice. So I would suggest, rather than just going ahead and just taking something, that speak to someone, have time, be patient, because the process takes time. But be patient, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that whatever you're taking and putting in place, it will serve you and your family. For example, if you took a life insurance policy and by the time your family have to claim, you've passed away. So if there are any questions and queries, you're not even around for them to ask you about it. You see, and imagine you've paid 30 years and your children have gone and taken a loan from the bank and done your funeral, thinking that they're going to be able to have access to all this thing, and then they get turned down because wrong information and all of. So please, I will encourage everyone, have time, because it's your life, it's your family's future at stake here. Have time, get someone that knows about these things, get a protection advisor, whoever, somebody that you can trust, even if it's a family member that you can trust that knows this, and sit down and go through everything and be honest with what your situation is, so that you'll be able to be recommended the right products. But I will not encourage people, especially if you're someone that have got any kind of medical condition, if you got family like children or anything like that, partner, I will not encourage you to take a policy online or through your bank, because they're not going to assess you. And then when you need to make a claim, don't forget, they probably don't want to give you the money in the first place. And when you need to make the claim, that's when the small writings will come up. But if you're someone that knows about this, you understand this, and you have a perfect health and stuff like that, it might be ideal for you may choose to want to apply for it online. But I would definitely recommend that you speak to a protection advisor, or at least someone that knows and will be able to explain things to your level of understanding, for you to know what it is to go for that suits you.
Okay. I have a question. Somebody has written here, if you're an advisor, can we call and talk to you? Is this something that you're able to do?
Yes.
Belinda?
Yes, okay. I can do that.
Okay. Is it possible to, I've said hi in the private chat. If you can just put your email address there so I can share your email address, if that's okay?
Yes, sir.
There's a private chat. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just type there, and that would be great. And then Millicent has written, what I hate about insurance protection is the benefits that you can get only when you die by accident. A friend's father died after a short sickness, and the insurance company refused their mother the benefit, saying that the man died naturally. So what the couple have paid for many years for their life insurance barred no fruit. The friend had to send her mum, his sister, in Germany. What would you say about that? What would be the instance for?
Wow. First of all, before anything else, I'm really sorry to hear that. Yeah. And secondly, I don't have enough information to really ascertain, the level of, what the actual cost is. But my understanding as far as life insurance, it depends on the kind of product. That's what I'm saying again. People misuse words. It might be possible that maybe they took an accidental cover and not a life insurance cover, or it was a serious illness cover and not a life. It could be anything. And I can't really advise too much on this because I don't have enough information, and I wouldn't want to give out any misleading, advice or information. But it really depends on what benefit the person actually took. So maybe perhaps if they want to reach out to me after this, I might be able to look a bit more into it, and any advice that I can give them, I'll be able to do that for them.
Fantastic. And I think you're right. I think I remember doing my policy and just like rushing through it. No. You just like, it's just so many questions. But you're right. I think it's something that you actually do have to take your time and do it well and answer the questions well, because you're right. At the end of the day, when it comes to claiming, they would dig into your history, everything. And then also, so for instance, a lot of people have insurance covers, but their family members don't know. What should we be doing as a family to also be alerting our families on what covers that we have?
Sorry, your line was breaking, so I didn't catch the whole of your question.
Oh,
is it?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was saying that, our mothers and fathers are very secretive. And sometimes they may even have covers, but you don't know. How do you find out? Like, how do we make sure that these things don't happen?
At this point in life, it's not even ideal. And I get exactly what you mean, especially our African parents. I've heard so many stories, in this work, where a client could tell you that I'm taking this, but I don't want my wife to know about this, or I don't want my husband to know about this, But this is not really something that you have to hide it from your family, because at the end of the day, you are taking it for them. So, for example, if you took a policy and you didn't disclose any of that information to your family has no idea that you have anything like this in place. It's not possible that when you're dead, they will know you had this in place for them to follow it up to make a claim, or even when you're sick. So, for example, maybe you take a serious illness cover. You don't disclose anything to anybody. No one knows about it. And then you're diagnosed with a serious illness, and you need them to help you to make a claim. And God forbid, you've lost your speech. You can't even speak. And you can't even tell them, Or another thing is, people take these policies and they just lock the documents, only God knows where. And then they only remember about this when they need to make a claim. And who knows, you probably moved a couple of houses and you probably left it in your first house, and now you're in your second or third house and you have no idea. And so people treat this like it's not important. But this is your whole life. Your whole life, especially, as you're getting older, everything, your family is dependent on this. And you should treat it as something that is very sacred and very important. So I would not advise you to keep this away from your family. At least if you can tell your partner or your spouse. I hear clients say, I don't want to tell my wife or my husband, I don't want them to kill me and go and make a claim and all this stuff. Really? But if you can't tell them, at least maybe there might be a child, a friend, a relative, someone that you really can trust. If you can't find that within the close net of your family, and maybe a GP or and that's why there's also the trust. Trust comes in. where you can have trustees on your, so the trust, it works like it's a legal arrangement.
Yeah.
And then
Apparently you can have about 4 names, isn't it, on the trust? Can you have
yes,
about 4 names? Yeah.
yes. And so in such situation, even if you're to disclose it, it's not possible that, I don't think, or it's likely that your partner and your children and whoever else outside of your family will gang up together and want to, go and make this. It's hardly, possible. But yeah, don't hide it from people. If you can't tell your immediate family, disclose it to somebody. Someone must know that you have something like this secured, so that when the need arises, they'll be able to know where to go to get this, and the claim can be, processed for you or your family.
Definitely. And I think it's also good to let the people that you've put on the trust to know that you've put their names as a trust, because they will contact them.
Yeah. For trust, definitely, when you put your sum assured into if you write a policy into a trust, you do let those trustees know about it, and possibly maybe the beneficiaries, but at least the trustees, because letters must be released and given to these trustees, because they should know, they should be informed about their responsibility, or the responsibility that you're giving to them, so that when they do need to present, because obviously once a claim needs to be made, the claim is not given to your beneficiaries. So it might not go to your children, for example, but it will be paid to the trustees. And then the trustees would, give it out to whoever the beneficiaries are. And the thing with the trust is, you have something called like a letter of wishes, something like, almost acts like a will, where you can share how you want them, how you would like those monies to be, distributed to maybe your beneficiaries, and you trust that the trustees will do right by you in your absence to be able to. So yes, the trustees would be informed about it, and also keep these informations updated. If you choose, if you make changes to the trustee, maybe you've put your sister, now you're not even talking with your sister again, or whatever has happened, and you want to change, a different trustee, or maybe you want to take a beneficiary off the claim, because maybe you have a child that's very stubborn. You kind of cut ties with the child. You don't want them anymore on the thing. So all of that is good to always, if as your life is changing, to update some of these information to reflect the current state of your life, so that when the claim needs to be made, the right people are on there for them to be able to make that claim.
Okay, so we have a few questions. Millicent says, so what's the difference between a natural death and an accidental death?
Okay. I believe an accidental death is like, maybe someone had a car crash and they died. And then natural death could be something like they had maybe they are diagnosed with something, cancer, and then they die from it. I believe that is what the difference is.
Okay. My husband and I have life insurance, but no medical exam was required. We're both in our 40s. Do you think we should seek another company who requires a medical exam? We're both healthy for now.
Don't quote me, but if you do have if at the time of taking the policy, the life insurance, if you were healthy, if you were fine, then there's not, it should be okay.
Yeah.
It
I
should
remember.
be okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say that the condition of the policy is relative to what the present time, or at the time of taking that policy. So whatever is going on with you or your husband at the time of taking the policy, that is what goes into effect once the policy goes live. Anything else that will happen to you after that, once the policy has gone live, is not affected by that. But it might be a good idea to let your provider knows the changing conditions. It's just like like, any kind of contract, like taking a phone contract, for example, they bind you at that time of taking the contract. And anything else that changes from that point on, it doesn't affect that agreement.
Okay.
But who is this? Tracy Yabua. Tracy, if you can, I invite you, if you want to reach out to me, and maybe we can discuss this further, or I can look a bit more into it and provide you the right advice on that.
Oh yeah, so I've reshared Belinda's information on this on the comments box. Also, I was going to say, yeah, some insurance companies do examinations. So when I've got 2 covers. I've done one in Ghana, one in the UK, and the one in Ghana, I had to do a health examination before they passed me that I could take life insurance. So some companies do make you do a medical check.
Yeah, because they want to make sure that you're because earlier on you did say something like, what if the person doesn't even know that they have something?
Yeah.
So it just I think it's just dependent on the providers and what it is what their requirements are. So if they request for you there are certain I think certain age that they may require you to undergo some kind of medical checkup for them to verify everything before they might be able to put through your application or your policy. So yeah, it really just depends on the provider and what it is their requirements are.
Okay, Millicent again. Why is that shop pickings are not covered by insurance company, whereas the trader pays full coverage for any loss? They tell the trader that the thieves did not break into the shop. Is this fair?
Okay, I think that is different from protection cover. Is she talking about more like a theft, right? So that is a different kind of cover. That is probably looking at in terms of property, isn't it? Property. So that could be looking at maybe something to do with content insurance and things like that. So it's slightly different from the protection cover. The protection cover is more to do with you as an individual, your family, rather than your belongings and asset, even though there are insurances for that. But for today's one, it's slightly different from that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Guys, do keep your comments coming in. We are going to wrap up very shortly. But I think this has been a very good eye-opener for us. I think we should not rush into it and, fill out the forms wrongly, because those small prints that we do not read will be the ones that they'll be reading out to us when we need to claim. In essence.
And this is probably one, if not the only, one of the contracts that you just have to read. I took a policy years ago. I'm guilty as well, because back then I didn't know what I know now, and I don't remember reading through. I just signed. Just signed for it, and then as I got into the role, and I just decided I didn't even know where my documents were. I had to literally go and dig, and then luckily I found it. I actually took time and went through, and I thought to myself, why did I sign for this? This doesn't make sense. It's nice that I have it, but is it really fit for purpose?
Is it the right one?
A lot of people, they have some kind of protection covers, but the question is it fit for purpose? It's not that it's not, any kind of protection is good, but is it fit for purpose? If you have life, if you're single, no dependent, and you have life insurance, it's nice, but is it fit for purpose? So if you were to be diagnosed with a serious illness, you can't do anything.
That's not going to cover
the life insurance when you're dead. But what other kind of protection are available to serve you as you are alive and you're going about your business, like
Yeah.
income protection, serious illness,
Yeah.
accidental cover. So it's just making sure that whatever you're taking is fit for purpose, because you are paying for it
Yeah.
for a
So
very
is
long
it
time.
do some people, can you do like 2 or 3 covers? So you could do, like, if you have a family, you do the life insurance and then do covers for, illnesses as well?
Yeah. So for example, if you have dependents, children, you can't really control them much, especially when they're quite young. They're very extremely active. They are always running around up and down in school and stuff. So if you have dependent children, it's ideal. I would recommend taking some kind of accidental cover. And actually, every single person, accidental cover is because it's just accidents. I was speaking to someone this week, and they were telling me that a friend of theirs went to work. They are fine. They went to work, and as they were walking up, getting into their office, they collapsed. And then when they rushed this person to the hospital, he suffered heart attack and stroke. They
My
had
goodness.
to open up his head and operate on his brain. And now he's going to have to be admitted in the hospital for a couple of months, and he wants to just rush out. He wants them to discharge him so he can go home, because he has a 6-year-old child. This person has no kind of cover in place at all, and he doesn't want to stay in the hospital for another 3 months, because he's eager to go to be released, because he wants to get back to work. Meanwhile, health-wise, he's not fit to work, but because he's probably got bills and expenses to take care of. So now he's ready to put his life at risk and just discharge and go so he can go back to work. And people think that, it won't happen to me. I never get sick. Nothing bad will happen to me. I hear so many things. God is my insurance and so many things. Life happens. Less than 5 years ago, no one had any idea that there was something called COVID-19. But it hit us, and we had to learn to adjust. The amount of lives that were lost as a result of this, the amount of lives that have been changed as a result of this. And people, I came across so many, invitations to GoFundMe and all these things. And it's nice, but we can't really do something about these things. Don't wait for it to happen to you before now you want to do something about it, because life happens. Of course, we don't wish to be sick. We don't wish to be diagnosed with cancer. We don't wish to, to have any kind of accident, but there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that when you go to sleep, you will wake up tomorrow, but it doesn't prevent you from going to sleep. Do you know whether, today is going to be your last day on earth? But is it going to stop you from going to bed, at night? But here's the case, we always go to sleep. And it's the same kind of thing. You just cannot predict the eventualities of life, and it can happen. Touch wood, it never happens to you. Awesome, great. We thank God for that, but we don't know. And so once you don't know, it's just best to just have some kind of security in place. And that's what protection covers are for.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Tracy's comeback says, what would you say to someone who says, I'm saving and have investments? Is it still necessary to purchase an insurance in this scenario?
Okay, I would say this way. So for example, if you were to take something like a life insurance with a lump sum of £100,000, you locked it away, you're paying, I don't know, let's say, this is just for example, a premium of £30 every month. Let me do the calculation for the next 30 years. So that would be 30 times 12 times 30. So at the end of the 30 years, should anything happen and a claim has to be made, you paid a total of £10,800, and in exchange for £100,000, I don't know what kind of investment, what kind of bank that will be able to pay out such dividend, such profit. So having savings and investment, they are great, but also having some form of insurance, it's also fantastic. It doesn't put you at a loss. Unless you have great amounts stuck somewhere that your family can live on, then of course. But for whatever you're paying and whatever you will get when you do need to make a claim, it's not a loss at all. If anything, it's a great gain, because you would not get it through any form of investment or savings, and you couldn't. No bank, if you were to save £10,800, no bank will give you interest that will accumulate to £100,000. So just do the maths and see, if it makes sense to have like something like that in place.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Belinda, for joining me on the show. It's nearly an hour, but it's been really insightful. And, these are things that we need to be leaving for our children. A lot of different cultures understand this. And sometimes we're like, why are their families doing so well? It's because they left something for their kids, to not be able to suffer. A lot of our families don't do insurance, or funeral covers, or etc. And then the burden becomes on you. And then you have to take out a loan to do a funeral, something that you're not even ready for. Even if your parents, God forbid, die in the UK, some of them, the family members, want you to send the body back. That's costing like £17,000. At that particular moment in time, you might not have it. So I think we need to be really thinking about how we stop this and stop putting burdens onto family members and onto our children, and also leaving a legacy for them. And that's what a lot of these billionaires have been doing. They've been leaving money for their children as a way of making sure that they don't get into debt.
Exactly. And like you rightly said, honestly, protection covers is probably one of the unknown, hidden, maybe mystery or secret of how you can actually give your children some kind of leverage, or put some kind of legacy for them. It's rather unfortunate that our community, we frown and we have so much negativity about this. I believe it's partly cultural as well, because we don't like to talk about death, anything associated with death. But if anything is a guaranteed in life, then it definitely is death, because no one is getting out of this race alive. It's a matter of when it happens, not if it happens. So we do know that at some point we are all going to die. And so if you do have families, if you have, people that are dependent on you, please, these things are necessary. It's not we, and also in our community, we hear of incidences of things that goes on when family members die. I think last week someone told me that they attended I think a grand uncle or something like this funeral, and they had dug the wrong hole, the wrong grave, and so at that point they needed to dig another grave, and it cost them £22,000 just to dig a grave. Everything is becoming so expensive, and it will be very unfair and very selfish of us to leave our family to nothing, or to leave our family to debt and all these other things that our families have to deal with when someone passes away. And this is probably the one of the best way forward to secure the lives of your loved ones, your children, and give them a good starting in life, taking some of these protection covers. But speak to somebody that knows about it, that can be honest with you, that can take time to understand what your needs are and what is suitable for you, and lock some of these away. If you were to put a policy, earlier on I said, into a trust, you devoid insurance, sorry, not insurance, inheritance tax, which is like 40%. So if you have a life insurance and it's not put into a trust, if you were to pass away, it will go to your estate, and they will have to pay a 40% insurance tax on it. Whereas if it's in a trust, there's no tax on it and stuff. So get to know about this, and you see how benefiting it is for our family moving forward, because the world is becoming very scary and very unpredictable, and we have to think beyond ourselves and think into not just our children but also our old age. And that is also another thing, where we don't plan towards our old age. We don't want to die early, but we don't put any plan in place when we are old. And sometimes when we are old, we become such a burden on our family, on the children, and it's just about time. We need to learn certain things, especially people that are in the diaspora. Learn some of the things that these other people are doing that is working for them, that we can apply to ourselves to make it work for us, so that, as a community, we can change the narrative.
Denise says, will also be paid earlier than if it's not put in a trust?
Yes. So if, for example, if you have a life insurance and you don't put it into a trust, when you pass away, the money does not go to whoever your benefactors are. No, the money goes into your estate. And now the court have to determine, it goes through, probate. So the court will now release letter of probate and all that. And it could take anywhere between 3 to 12 months before they get to before they'll get to receive any payout, plus a 40% inheritance tax taken off it. Whereas if you're to put it into a trust, once the trustee contact the insurance provider that this is what's happened, you've passed away, the money, the benefit, the payout will be, the benefit will be paid out to the trustee, and then whoever the beneficiaries are, they'll give it to them, and it's much quicker, much quicker. So again, there's so many benefits and so many good things about this. Just people are not either willing to want to find out, they're too much in a rush, they can't be bothered and all of that stuff. But the more you get to really know and understand about it, you will see how necessary this thing is and how beneficial it is to giving our children some kind of foundation for their future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This has been a great conversation. As I mentioned to you earlier, guys, if you want more advice, sometimes, like she said, when somebody's good at their profession and they know what they're doing, if you have a case, you go to a lawyer. If you want to go to have an insurance, you need to go to a protection advisor who can help you get the right advice. If you're sick, you go to a doctor. So I think it's really important that we're using the right tools to be able to get the right information and the right diagnosis for us and our families. Because honestly, this is not just about us, it's about a whole community, a whole family. And so, Belinda, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I hope that we'll have you again in the near future to really, because this is something that we need to keep talking about.
Yes.
Until we get it right. So really appreciate your time, guys. I'm putting her email on the screen right now, so please do email her. She's ready and available to advise you, to make sure that you take your time, even if it takes like 2 weeks or so, or 3 weeks or a month, to get the right products for you. So thank you once again, Belinda, and speak to you soon.
Thank you so much, Denta. I'm grateful, and thank you to everyone that took the time to listen. I hope we've been able to serve you. And again, my email is there. Just reach out to me and I'll see how best I can help. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the conversation. Again, I'm always trying to see how we can support the community, educate the community. So please do share this information. It's not just for you. You need to be sharing that information. So please share the link. If you are on Instagram, not on Instagram, if you are on YouTube, please do subscribe and share it with your friends and family. Share it on your Facebook, share it on your Twitter. Let's get the word out. If you're watching it on Facebook, again, please do share the link. Let's share as much as possible so people can get the right information with the experts. And so thank you. Have a good evening. And hopefully I'll bring you another show on Sunday or next week. Take care and God bless you all. Bye-bye.